Hi, it's Ingrid. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's time for my very late January wrap-up. I never ended up filming this, so I thought I'd just put it into my February wrap-up. So we're gonna go through my January books, my February books, and I'll tell you my thoughts. We're gonna start with some stats. In January, I read 14 books. 11 of them were physical books. One was an ebook, and then I also listened to 2 audiobooks. In February, I read 4 physical books, and that was it. January was definitely a better reading month for me, but I got through some books that had been on my TBR for a while in February, so that's good. I'm going to start with my January reads, and I'm just going to go through them in the order I read them. I think most of them at least have been in reading vlogs, so go watch my previous videos if you want to know more of my thoughts. I need to sit still, like I keep moving on this chair. And the lighting is not great. The sky is very grey, it's cloudy. And that just doesn't make the lighting that good. But it's okay, we're gonna move on. Let's get into the first book I read in January. I started my year off with a 24-hour readathon, and I ended up reading a lot in that. So the first one I started with was The Titan's Curse by Rick Riordan. This is the 3rd book in the Percy Jackson and the Olympians series. This is a YA series following Percy, who finds out he's a demigod, and he goes to this camp and he has to like fight monsters and go on these adventures. I love it. This one I rated 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I think a lot of the characters were annoying. Especially the girls, but also the little brother. No. Percy was a little bit childish, but like, that is to be expected because he is a child. Like, this is a YA series, a children's book. So I'm not really judging the book too much about that, because they are children, they're supposed to act like children, and I like that they do behave that way. Because I feel like a lot of characters get like these very mature characteristics and ways of acting when they should still be children. Like, this is very realistic in that way, and I like that. I enjoyed this. I think the story was fun, and I think the world of Percy Jackson is really fun. I think I really like the fantasy setting in the real world. I think just that's very interesting, so I love this series. It's very easy to read. It's definitely written for younger audiences, and it's just fun to have sometimes. I'm gonna move on from this because I don't really know what else to say. Then I picked up Midnight Mass by Sierra Simone. This is a novella in the Priest series. I don't know if that's what the series is called, but it's 3 books, and I think there's 3 novellas as well. This comes after Priest and follows the same characters. In this, the relationship is already established. They're going through some struggles. I didn't love it. I rated it 2 stars. I think it's unnecessary. I regret buying it, but I had it, so I had to read it, and honestly, a little bit of a waste of time. I didn't enjoy it. I feel like everything that happened in this could be solved if they just communicated. And when they've been together for this long, I feel like they should be able to talk to each other, and I just didn't like it. If you want to read this series, you don't need to read that. Move on, it's not good. Then I picked up The Wizard of Oz. I watched Wicked last year like everyone else did. That was my first introduction to this world. Obviously this is not the Wicked story, but it is set within that same universe with some of the same characters. I have never seen The Wizard of Oz or anything like that before. This is definitely written like a children's story. I can tell that within the writing. And I think I prefer a little more in-depth story. It's very simple. I had a good time with it. I ended up rating it 4 stars. Like, I really enjoyed it. And there's some pretty little illustrations in this. Oh. There's the stars on top of the chapters, which I really like. And there's one here. I just think that's fun. I like when it's doing something special. It's an older book, of course. And I'm nervous because I'm pretty sure he looked up here when I was driving past. Doesn't matter. I feel like this is better told than read, but I enjoyed it, and the cover is gorgeous. One of my biggest goals this year is to finish series, and I did that in January. I picked up Hopeless by Elsie Silver. This is the 5th and last book in the Chestnut Spring series. I rated this one 4.5 stars. I'm not completely sure if this is my favorite one in the series, so it's in between this and Powerless, but I loved this. From the first page, I was obsessed. I was hooked. I love it. I don't really have that 5-star feeling after, but I loved every second of this. I love the characters, both of them. I love the development of their friendship, their relationship. This one follows Bo. Didn't tell you that. He is the military brother. He's dealing with a lot of stuff that happened in Powerless. And one thing I really liked about this one is it starts in a scene from Reckless. Like, in Reckless, there was this one thing that happened with Bo, and we don't really see his perspective after that situation, but then we get into this book, and literally on the first page, we're in that scene, and I love that. I think going into this, I wasn't expecting to love it, because I didn't love Bo, but I was pleasantly surprised. I know that this book was a letdown for a lot of people, but for me, it was a big surprise. In this one, the man, Bo, helps the girl. What's her name again? I don't remember her name. Anyways, they start fake dating. It's some fake engagement to help her because she is a part of the more of like the criminal family. I don't know if they're actual criminals. I think they are. But like everyone hates them. And she has a bad reputation because of her family. She works at the bar. She's like the nice one in the family. But people still judge her because of her family. Bo is from the Eaton family, who everyone loves. They go together because he thinks that her name isn't a factor, I don't know, and he wants people to stop asking him about a relationship. And obviously they do fall in love, and it's so cute, and I love them. This has been a long time coming. I should have read this a while ago, but it's just been really intimidating. Like, everyone's obsessed with this, and it's really big. It's not really that big. If this was a normal paperback, it would have been thin, but the big ones just are scary. But I see it in store now, in the actual normal size paperback, and it's not that bad. But this one, I was a little scared going into because I had really high expectations, but I also felt like I wasn't gonna love it as much as everyone else, and that made me a little scared because I didn't want to be disappointed. But I actually really love this. I rated it 4.5 stars. I think Emily Henry's writing is really good. It's different from a lot of other romance authors. I don't know exactly what it is or how to explain it, but I feel like there's something very real in her writing, and it makes me feel a lot. I cried. Wasn't expecting that, but I did. In this one, we follow Harriet and Wynne, who has broken up, and their friends doesn't know. Every year they go on this vacation together, their whole friend group. They planned on not both attending, but then things happened and they're both there, and they have to fake date because they don't want to ruin this for everyone else. And then we see like their reasonings for breaking up and their feelings for each other. The friendships in this, little questionable if you ask me. There's one character specifically that I really disliked. I can see things from her point of view and I understand her perspective, but I don't think she's a very good friend. But anyways, I don't know much about adult friendships because I don't have any adult friendships. Like, these are characters in their 40s. Obviously, I'm not 40, but I'm hoping to have like a big group of friends. It doesn't have to be big, but like a group of friends that are almost like family, like they have. I really enjoyed this, and I'm glad I read it. I wish I didn't buy it in the big one. Is it annoying when I keep turning? Because I'm annoying myself. But I shouldn't be in a chair that can move. we're gonna move over to a disappointment, a letdown. Why is the lighting so bad? I hate when the sky is like this because it's almost like it gives me like a blue filter. I don't like it. My light is on. Didn't help me much. But now it's so dark. I don't like it. Should we move? Is this better? No. Shouldn't have moved you. We're just gonna live with it. Sorry. Okay, it's better now. I don't know what happened. The Crow Trap by Anne Cleves is the first book in the Vera Stanhope series. I picked this up because Vera, this one right here, is one of my favorite shows. I grew up watching it. I have always been obsessed with crime shows. And this one is one of the best ones. So I wanted to read the books that it's based on. This is episode 3 of the show, in case you were wondering. That's amazing. The book, oh my god, it was boring. It's split into different parts, and in the first part, nothing happens. Part 1 is split into 3 parts, following 3 different women. First woman's story, incredibly boring. Second woman's story, exactly the same thing, in her perspective. Third woman's story, a little bit better because we saw a little more of her background. My biggest complaint about this is a detective novel. It's a crime series, the Vera Stanhope series. You'd expect some Vera Stanhope in it. She wasn't even there until 200 pages in. We didn't follow her perspective or her investigation until like 300 pages in. What's going on? I don't need all the information from everyone else and every detail about their lives. I want the investigation. And then what I was most excited for, Joe, he was in here like twice. He was barely in it. So I was let down. The rest of the books are on Kindle Unlimited, except for the second one, which is the next one I need. And I think I'm going to give the second book a chance. If I like that one, I'll continue because I would like to have all her books. If I don't like it, I'll probably not read it, and if I do, I'm going to read it on Kindle. But I was really hoping to like this, but I didn't. It took me months to get through because I never wanted to pick it up. But in January, I decided to just get my life together and finish things. So I did, but I didn't love it. Then I did a little Narnia reading vlog. I read the first 4 books. If you see the numbers, they are numbered in chronological order. I decided to read them in release order, publication order, the way they were intended to be read, in my opinion. Because if he released them this way, we should read them that way. So I started with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Did I tell you my Crow Trap rating? I rated that one 2.5 stars. This one, I rated 4.25. It's really fun. Obviously, I knew the story because I've seen the movies. I love Narnia. I think this world is so interesting. In this one, we get introduced to these siblings. There's 4 of them. The youngest one, Lucy, enters a wardrobe and she finds this world, Narnia. She tries to tell her siblings about it. They don't believe her until her and Edmund go in. He meets the witch. The witch is not nice. They go back out. They end up back. Everyone gets in. Edmund gets lost. There's a war going on. The queen wants to rule the world. She's bad, so she's punishing all the animals. So they're fighting back. I don't know what else I can say without spoiling. But I love this. I definitely noticed more of the Christian references now than I did watching the movies. Like, I knew, of course, like, my book story on Snapchat is called Furry Jesus Fan Club because of Aslan. But I definitely noticed a lot more in this. I'm not going to tell you the actual stories or plot lines of the next ones because I don't want to spoil anything. But the next one was Prince Caspian. I rated this one 4 stars. In this one, we get introduced to Prince Caspian, and I love him, and he's played by Ben Barnes. Love him as well. This movie is also great. This next one, I rated 3 stars. I didn't like it as much. I feel like this one was a little repetitive, but I liked the characters. Some of them. There's one character in particular that I just strongly dislike. I can't. But I'm not going to tell you anything about it, because I think you should go in blind. And you've probably seen the movies, but still. Then I read The Silver Chair. This is the only story I didn't know, because they haven't adapted it. This one is very different. I ended up rating it 2 stars. I was a little bored, and I just didn't care for anything. I don't want to say anymore, because I feel like it's a spoiler. So, I'm gonna move on. I told you in the beginning of the video that I also listened to 2 audiobooks. I forgot about them, and so this is not in order. But after I read The Wizard of Oz, and before I read Hopeless, I listened to 2 mystery audiobooks on Storytel. I listened to Murder on Thames and Mystery at the Manor. That's book 1 and 2 in the Sheringham series. I don't know who the author is, but they're read by Neil Dudgeon, who plays John Barnaby in Midsummer Murders, another one of my favorite shows, so that's why I listened to them. Murder on Thames, I rated 4 stars. That one followed... This girl was found dead, this woman, found dead in a lake or something, and one of her, like, older friends didn't really believe that it was an accident, so she teams up with this former NYPD detective who lives in this little British village, and they investigate and they figure things out. In the next one, Mystery at the Manor, they team up again. I feel like my voice is very annoying right now. Like, I'm actually annoyed listening to myself, so I'm sorry about that. They team up again because this house burns, this man dies, but I think she's the maid. She could have been someone else. But she doesn't believe that it was an accident, so she asks this woman if she can get her detective friend to investigate. So they do. Murder on Thames, I rated 4 stars. Mystery at the Manor, I rated 3 stars. Then I read an ebook. Simon Teen has a selection of ebooks for free every month. January, I picked up City of Bones by Cassandra Clare, because I have all of the Mortal Instruments books, I think, except for that one. So it was just perfect. It was free, and I loved it. I rated it 4.5 stars. I had a really good time with that. In this book, we meet Clary, who... How do I say this without spoiling? She meets some Shadowhunters. Something happens in her life, so she ends up going with them, and she finds out that she is part of this world, and she learns things. She can see things that others can't, and there's this little mystery they have to figure out. I don't know what else to say, because I don't want to spoil it, and I don't have the book to look at the synopsis, and I don't want to say anything that is considered a spoiler. But I really loved it. I think the writing was great. I loved the characters. One thing, I knew it was coming because I've seen people talk about it, but I'm a little disappointed because I liked these 2 characters together, but they're not together because of reasons. I don't know much about the Shadowhunters world. I never watched the show, but I have seen a lot of edits. Like, 8 years ago, I was watching, I don't know when it was, but I was watching edits of Magnus and Alec, I think, on Instagram. That's my introduction to the Shadowhunters world. Then the last book I read in January is Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. This is the 2nd book in the Empyrean series. Book 3 came out in January. I'm looking at it right now. But I read this one, finally. When this came out, I bought it, obviously. I heard so many negative reviews. Everyone was disappointed, so I've just kept, like, pushing it away. I don't want to read it. And it's huge, so I was scared. Oh my god, I will never listen to other people's negative reviews of something I'm excited for, because this was amazing. I rated it 4.5 stars. I'm so obsessed with this series. I love it. Satan That's my favorite book boyfriend, especially like fantasy. I feel like every time someone talks about their love for Reese in ACOTAR, I just think, no, Satan's better. Doesn't matter, but I'm more of a Imperium fan than an ACOTAR fan. But I had so much fun with this. This follows the events of Fourth Wing. I can't tell you much about this plot because it would be a spoiler. Like, everything in here spoils the first book. But I'm so obsessed. I think it's so fun. I love the characters. The entire friend group is so special. I feel like the things happening in this book is very interesting. I like the plotline and the development of it. Everything that happened with both sides. I don't know how to say it. I need to stop talking because I really don't want to spoil anything. But their relationship is so cute. The ending. I don't even know what to say. But that... my poor babies. I'm gonna move on. And then in February, I read 4 books. I have them here. The first book I read was Wild Love by Elsie Silver. I told myself I wasn't allowed to get this until I'd finished Chestnut Springs. And I did in January. So I finally bought this. And oh my god, I'm obsessed. This has been my first 5-star read of the year. I'm so obsessed with it. This is amazing. The writing of this, so good. Like, I love the Chestnut Springs series, but this is on a whole other level. I love Elsie Silver. I think the way she creates stories, the way she builds this world is so good. This one follows... my camera turned off. This one follows Ford, who is Willa's brother. Willa Heartless. He starts this recording studio in Rose Hill. And this girl shows up at his doorstep and is like, "You're my father." So he has to raise her because of situations in her life. Then his best friend, West, has a little sister. She comes back. She needs a job. Starts working for him. Things happen. They have this rivalry going on that I think is so fun. Because they keep like teasing each other and going like back and forth without being rude. And their relationship, so cute. The conflict in this, I didn't love. Because I feel like it was a bit of an overreaction. But the way they handled it, amazing. Like, why can't more characters do that? I don't want to say like who did what because I don't want to spoil. But the way the person who was offended dealt with it, so cute. I loved it. And the friendship between Ford and West, adorable. Like, I loved the way they were actually focusing on their friendship and the way he dealt with things going on between them. Obsessed. Everything. It's perfect. I love it. It's everything to me. Then I picked up The Winteringham Mystery by Anthony Berkeley. This one has a blurb by Agatha Christie on the back. I was expecting an Agatha Christie level story. I get kind of the same feeling, but I was a little bit bored. I feel like it was dragged out a little too much. I ended up rating it 3 stars. I don't know how to explain this one, because I feel like what I read on the back and what I got from the story isn't exactly the same. It is, but it's just... I was expecting more. This man kind of loses his fortune. He's spending too much, so he needs to get a job. So he starts working as... what's it called? He's not a servant, but it's kind of a servant. He's a footman, that's what it's called, at Winteringham Hall. And he knows some people there. One person disappears during a little game. He starts investigating with his old friend. They figure things out. There's some things going on. I don't know. I rated it 3 stars. I'm not the biggest fan of this, and I probably won't buy any more books by this author. I don't really care. I'm glad I read it though. Then I picked up Lucky Girl by Lottie Tomlinson. This is her memoir. Lottie is Louis Tomlinson's sister from One Direction. I love him. So I was very interested in seeing more of her story and how she has dealt with life, because obviously there's some tragedies in their life. I'm not rating this one because I just don't know how to. It's not the best memoir I've read. I was expecting more of like her life growing up, I guess, but this is very much about her career and the loss of her mother and sister. The parts about her mom and sister were really sad. And I think it's important to see her perspective of that because she's in the public eye, especially with her brother Louis and his fame, and then her making a career for herself in the public eye. Seeing their emotions and how they dealt with it is important. Everything about her career, I didn't care too much. I don't know, it just wasn't what I expected, but I'm glad I read this as well. I had a good time with it. The last book that I read in February has been on my TBR for so long. A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J Maas, the third book in the ACOTAR series. I read ACOTAR in 2023. Then I read Akamov in January of 2024. And I picked up this in February of 2025. I need to read them closer together because I can't keep one book each year because I'm never going to be done. I can't really tell you about the plot of this one either because it would be spoilers, but we follow Feyre and her life and how she deals with everything that happened in the last book, the ending of the last book. Crazy. And this is a lot of people's favorite in the series. So far it's my least favorite. I ended up rating this one 3.5 stars. That might be a little high. I was bored. Like, it's a lot of talk and not a lot of things happening. And I knew it would be political, but I thought it would be a little more action in those politics, not them just sitting around talking about everything that's going on. So I was disappointed. And the amount of times that this girl, like, he gave a vulgar gesture. Every single page, like, can you say something else? Like, I get it. But that annoyed me so much. So I was just bored. I don't know. I tabbed it in 2 places. The other ones I've definitely tabbed more. Reese is so cute though. I can't tell you what I tabbed because it's a spoiler. But I think that was just showing how good of a guy he is, and I love it. The character development though, of some of the characters, that was my second tab. I don't think they're forgiven, but I like that there was some development with her sister, Nesta. I'm a big Nesta hater. In this one, she has some development, and I'm glad, because if I'm going to get through A Court of Silver Flames with her, we need that development. I still don't like her. She's not a good person. But I liked seeing a different side to her in this. And then there's this other character that I like, that I was very surprised by the way that story was going, and I hope to see more of it. That's all I have to say. But I was a little bored and definitely disappointed. But that's all the books I read in the first 2 months of the year. If you've read any of these, I would love to hear your thoughts. Let's talk. I have my social medias linked in the description. My book talk, my normal TikTok, and my Instagram. Follow me. We can be friends. That's it for now. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace out, lovers.